Good evening, everyone. Not a whole lot of interesting things going on in the Concho Valley weather-wise or the big country, but something else interesting to do with the skies, but not really the weather per se. Thanks to increased activity on the sun, could potentially see the northern lights, the aurora borealis, as far south as our viewing area. You can't see it right now on our Abilene sky tracker. If you live in west central Texas and particularly in a more rural location, if you point your phone camera to the north, you might be lucky enough to see the aurora borealis. One potential thing to consider though is cloud cover. Good news, most of us are not seeing clouds. It's north of Interstate 20 where we have a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity. Still, I would encourage you, if you want to, go outside and point that phone camera to the north, because most of us are not going to be seeing any rainfall whatsoever. I don't think it's impossible. If you find yourself under a shower, consider yourself very lucky. Just a little bit of rain as folks are heading to school and work for Friday morning. It's all going to be over by Friday night football. Main weather impact we're tracking is really going to be the warmth. More on that in just a second. Saturday morning, no rainfall problems. Only excuse you really have for not mowing the grass Saturday morning is just not wanting to wake up early on the weekend, which frankly in my book is a valid excuse. You might as well sleep in on the weekend. Today, a very warm day, a toasty Thursday if you will. High of 96, so just 5 degrees shy. So thankfully those 5 degrees I think made a bit of a difference. We were 101 on this day in 2020. At least we had a nice start to the morning, 57 for your low, pretty close to that typical low of 56. All across the Lone Star State, seeing those temperatures in the 70s and 80s, 75 San Angelo, 73 Abilene, 87 right now in Vernon. Friday, going to be waking up with those low temperatures near that 60-degree mark. High temperatures going to be closer to the mid-90s across the area. Way too hot for this time of year. At least the humidity will be low, so that'll make it feel somewhat nice. Still though, definitely going to be on the warm side, so make sure you are drinking lots of water. Coahoma at Grape Creek, that's going to be the Fox Football Live Game of the Week. Kickoffs at 7. Temperatures going to be in the 90s. Definitely a toasty one before the sun sets Friday evenings. We are going to start to see some change though early next week. Think Monday into Tuesday, a big old cold front's going to be moving through the areas. Going to see those high temperatures much closer to average, if not even below average. High pressure going to make next week fairly nice. Tomorrow, definitely going to be warm. High of 95 for your Friday, 94 for your Saturday. Tuesday, forecasting a high of 82. Now, for a closer look at big country weather, here is meteorologist Chris Nation. Chris?
Hey guys, up here in the big country, a little bit different. Now you guys aren't really seeing any sprinkle activity, but we are seeing some light stuff up to the far northern sides of our area by Wichita Falls and Benjamin. A couple of sprinkles are possible, but visibility this evening still at about 10 miles in all directions. Winds 5 to 10, gusts of about 15. You might get a gust up to 20 if you're in places like Breckenridge, right through their edge there, maybe even Comanche, and that would be outflow off a very small little sprinkly storm, which I'll show you in a minute in our computer model. Now, what about those gustings? I wouldn't think that we'd see any gusts higher than about that 20 you see down in the south there. For most of us, should be a fairly stable pattern. So let's talk about a couple of other issues. Even now on our radar this evening, a few light showers to the north. You know, if you're going to go into Oklahoma, about by Wichita Falls, you might encounter a real storm there. That's because they're not dealing with the same high pressure we are. Now, speaking of high pressure, look at this clearing over the U.S. The remnants of yesterday's hurricane, almost hard to even find anymore. The clouds quickly pushing away out there. No major issues that's gone out into the Atlantic. It is not coming back, but it has absolutely blasted Florida. In the last 24 hours, that storm had over 20 tornadoes, had outflow winds of 140 miles an hour, and it did a fair amount of damage down there, as our folks have been talking about all night. Now, clearing behind that is pretty much dominating all the way through the Tennessee Valley. And Milton, while technically is still a tropical depression, it is going to sail away. It is headed off towards Greenland. It is not a concern for any of us anymore. Now, let's bring it back here. What are we seeing? High pressure is not just dominating Texas. That clearing, as I mentioned, goes all the way to the Tennessee Valley. And underneath it, there are a couple little ribbons of energy inside Oklahoma that are creating very light showers. But those are few and far between, and they're not any real measurable precipitation. It's just kind of enough sprinkles to mess up the car wash. I know I got one, so I'm almost sure we're going to wind up getting at least 1 or 2 sprinkles here. We move through it, nothing on that computer model run. We take it to another one. That's the same little energy I was talking about. Again, there's not really anything there. There's just not a lot of moisture to work with, and the high pressure is acting as that lid to contain that. So I'm going to stay fairly clear. Little spots might put some tiny fog in the morning up by Benjamin, stretching towards Eastland, but that'll be few and far between. Overnight lows in the 50s to mid 60s. Tomorrow, hot scorcher thanks to that high pressure dominating. We're talking close to 98 in Seymour, even 95 here in Abilene. Now let's take a look at the next 7 days for you. Huge changes. We're going to see a warm, sunny weekend. After that, much cooler, back into the low 80s. Chances of storms kicking in. Guys?